Hello and welcome. In this session, we're going to be working through all 20 poses from level 2 of the Your Yoga series. Please join me in standing, feet approximately shoulders distance apart. We'll start with 3 centering breaths, inhaling through our nose softly for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhaling for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling for 5. And exhaling for 5. One more breath, inhaling for 5. And exhaling for 5, 4, 3. Lowering our hands to our sides. And here we begin. We'll start off with our cactus flow. This is a flow that I absolutely love. It's something that if I'm on Zoom calls back to back to back and I have 2 minutes in between, I'll just do a couple of rounds of this and it recycles my energy. It gets me feeling positive and optimistic and ready for that next call. Several other opportunities as well to use this. I use it in the airport. I use it before I'm making my coffee. So here we go. This is cactus flow. We begin with our hands coming up to the sky. We're finding length through the shoulders, reaching up. Chin's parallel with the ground, crown of the head is reaching up. And then we exhale into a cactus. And here the elbows are coming wide, probably slightly below the shoulder, and we're now retracting the scapula. And so what that feels like is, imagine a walnut between your shoulder blades, and we're cracking that nut as we feel this expansion, this opening through the chest. From our cactus, we will meet in chair pose. In chair pose, the weight is setting slightly more toward the heels, arms reaching out, and we might have a slight sensation of the tailbone wrapping down toward the earth and the chest slightly opening. From chair pose, we release to a forward fold. This is our first forward fold of the practice, so we're keeping a slight bend in the knee. We're inviting the neck to relax so that the crown of our head has a sense of gravity working with it. We're relaxing our upper back, our lower back, our hips. And as we relax all of that, we start to find space in the hamstrings. Now, very slowly feeling every vertebra in the spine, we're lifting, coming back to what will be position 1. Hands to the sky. Exhaling, cactus. Inhaling to our chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. And so now we're into the flow. And if you would like to do it on the breath, it's an inhale, hands to the sky. Exhale, cactus. Inhale, chair. Exhale, forward fold. And as always with these flows, the purpose of the flows is freedom for you to express yourself, to listen to your body, to respond lovingly to whatever it's asking for. And so if the forward fold is feeling really good and you'd like to spend more time here, that's of course your prerogative. Or if it feels really good, if you feel like there's this release in the shoulders and this hands to the sky position, you might spend more time there. If there's music on, you might be doing it a little bit rhythmically. Wherever you are in the flow, we will take one more time around, and then we'll meet back at the top, standing. Very good. Now, the next thing that we are going to do is our side stretch. So coming up, we have our hands reaching up long toward the sky. Right hand finds left wrist, and we reach up long bringing this beautiful side stretch from the left pinky through the left shoulder, left side, and you might even feel it slightly in the left hip. And we'll switch sides. Left hand finding right wrist, right hand reaching. We're looking for that stretch now from the right pinky through the right shoulder, maybe into the right hip. Another thought here is we want to have a little bit more of a sense of this stretch being up, as opposed to just trying to create this hinge to the side. So we're finding length moving up. And we come back to the top. Very good. Now let's come to a new flow region, hands and feet on the ground. We will start in our tabletop. We'll warm up with a brief cat-cow, inhaling, shifting the gaze up. We have our cow pose. Exhaling, shifting the gaze back toward the navel, we have cat, and we will hold this cat for a cycle of breath as we press into the mat, really giving ourselves time to create this rounding through the upper back. The scapula is coming very wide here. And then on our next inhale, back to cow. Exhale to cat. We'll meet in tabletop. From tabletop, we'll find our first child's pose of the day. Maybe we start with our forehead on the mat, elbows touching. And as we feel it, we've already warmed up the sides a little bit. We might reach forward with the hands. Forehead might come up off the mat. And now we might be looking for a stretch from the pinkies, through the shoulders, through the sides. If we press a little bit, we might be getting deeper into the hips. Very good. Lifting back up, we meet in tabletop. And those are all from the level 1 series. The hands and feet poses for level 2, we will start with our bird dog. And in the bird dog, the right hand reaches forward, right thumb toward the sky. As the left foot goes back, we're active in the left ankle. The toes are actively pointing toward the ground. Now, imagine a line from your right thumb through your left heel. Stretch that line, finding as much length diagonally across the body as we can. Our gaze is straight down at the mat, keeping our neck long. And this is active. This is probably challenging. And so we are trying to balance the activity with a breath that is slow, that is relaxing. And now we lower, re-anchoring, coming back to our tabletop. Maybe we pedal the mat back and forth, noticing the difference in how the right side feels, how the left side feels. It's a very asymmetric posture we're just in. Now, weight's going to come a little bit into the right hand. So the left hand reaches forward, thumb toward the sky, right foot goes back. We're active through that right ankle, toes pointing toward the ground. And now we're stretching the line from the left thumb to the right heel. Gaze is straight down. And we're attempting to use the breath to help us relax, even though we're in a very active posture. On your next exhale, we lower back to our tabletop. Forearms, arms might be tired. We settle back toward child's pose. Inhale, coming back to tabletop. And now we find our puppy, a beautiful shoulder opener. So we walk the hands out, palms are open, all 10 fingers participating in the mat, and we stack the hips over the knees. I'm going to shift back slightly here. And we imagine a suspension bridge where we have two nodes. One node of the bridge is in our hands, one node is in our hips, and as we inhale, the suspension bridge might lift slightly. As we exhale, we might lower closer to the earth. Now, if puppy feels like just a little bit too much weight in the hands, in the shoulders, you can shift the hips back toward the heels slightly, and that will take less weight from the hands. Very good. Walking the hands back, we find our tabletop. Once again, just stacking shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. And from here, we're coming toward our low lunge. So now, this right foot is going to come to the outside of the right hand, and it might take a little practice to find the space to bring this right foot forward. As we're coming up into this low lunge, you might first choose to place a towel underneath this back knee. I have a very dense, thick mat, and so I don't need that towel with this mat, but if I was using a thinner mat, I certainly would. As we lift up, placing both hands on our front thigh, we have 4 levels that we can take this low lunge through. So we start here with both hands on the front thigh, and the primary focus of this is a stretch through this left hip flexor. We're also going to get into the left quad a little bit in the right hip extensor. If we feel stable here and we would like to try a variation, level 2 invites the left hand to come up. We're introducing a side stretch. If you would like to go further, the gaze, which has been toward the ground, can now shift upward. It's a little destabilizing as we shift this gaze upward. Level 3 has the gaze shifting through this hand. Now, the opportunity here is to feel a connection from the left pinky through the shoulder, through the side, through the hip, all the way into the ground. See if you can feel that as a consistent stretch all the way from the knee through the pinky if you're taking this variation. 4th option is for the right hand to dismount, finding left hamstring. This is the most challenging of the 4. And we release whatever we have, coming back to the ground, anchoring with both hands. Feel support in both hands. From that point, we slide back to our tabletop. We'll reset with the child's pose. Then we'll come right back to tabletop. And from here now, we're going to find space on the outside of the left hand. Left foot's coming forward. Left foot is anchoring. Maybe we place a towel under the right knee now, and we come up into our low lunge, starting off by placing both hands on the left thigh. We get situated here. We find that stretch. We find that place where the hip flexor is starting to feel open, the quad's starting to open. If we're ready, we might lift right hand toward the sky. Notice that my gaze is still down toward the mat, down toward the ground. Level 3 invites the gaze up through the hand. Level 4 invites the left hand to dismount, finding right hamstring. Releasing whatever we have. Coming back, anchoring both hands on the mat. Left foot slides back. We'll take one more child's pose. Lift up to tabletop. And from tabletop, we'll meet in standing. Very good. So we just covered a couple of the different postures from level 2. We were on the ground, hands and feet together, working through puppy, working through our bird dog. And then we also took a 2 legs apart low lunge. So now we are going to take another 2 legs apart posture, and we will start with our pyramid. So in pyramid, we are shifting the weight to the left foot. The right foot is sliding back about a shoulder width and a half's distance. And what's important here is very similar to crescent lunge. We have left lane, right lane, feet are shoulder width apart, shoulders pointing forward, hips pointing forward, toes pointing forward. The back heel is not rotating in. Everything is square. We stand up tall, place our hands on our hips, and then pyramid invites us forward, keeping our spine long, not slouching, not bending. And we find that point that's appropriate for us. Then we will come back. We're coming into our pyramid flow, where now we are going to be coming behind straight up, and we're going to feel this differently. This can feel a little bit destabilizing as well. So here, we are going to feel the stretch now in the right hip flexor. The right foot has more of the weight in it. And now very carefully, we're coming forward, noticing the weight transferring into the left foot. Maybe the right calf is starting to feel more, bearing weight in the left foot as we come forward. Left hamstring is starting to turn on. And now the flow is generally going to be inhaling as we come back, exhaling as we come forward. Inhaling as we come back. Exhaling forward. Then we will meet at the top. Take a moment to stand up tall. Shoulders come forward, front knee bends, allowing for a graceful step forward. Take a second to pedal out the feet, noticing the difference from left to right. Once again, asymmetric posture here. Now, weight shifts into the right foot so that the left foot can slide back about a shoulder width and a half distance apart, noticing the width between the feet, left lane, right lane, both toes pointing forward, hips pointing forward, shoulders pointing forward. Hands come to hips. We stand up tall. This time we are going to head backward to start. Left hip flexor opening. And then we hinge forward. Doing so very carefully. Once again, noticing the difference in the weight distribution. It's changing as we move forward. And then we come back. And now we're into the flow. Exhaling as we come forward. Inhaling as we come back. Now, of course, if you would like to take a full cycle of breath or more between each movement, if you would like to hold the front or the back, all of those are options. One thing pendulum flow is so good at is developing awareness, because so many different things are changing just through this, what seems like a simple movement, but you're probably noticing these little moments of instability here. If the instability is even more than you're comfortable with, you might consider practicing this with a handrail at your side, something that you can hold on to. Now that we're back to the top, we bend the front knee, shoulders lean forward, we step forward, and we're back to our standing position. Very good. Now, the next place that we are coming is our wide-legged forward fold. So we spread the feet out wide, about double shoulder width apart. Feet are parallel. Toes might even be slightly pigeon-toed. Hands are at our hips, and slowly we're hinging forward at the hips, coming toward our wide-legged forward fold. Couple options here. You might have a block or something else that lifts the ground up. You might feel more comfortable placing your hands on something here that you can support into. Similar to our forward fold, as we become stable, we are going to invite the neck to relax, which might lead to the gaze, coming back more toward the shins. We're going to attempt to relax through the upper back, relax through the lower back. We'll take one more breath here. Now, very slowly, we will lift one vertebra at a time, feeling every vertebra in the spine, lifting slowly, coming back up to standing. Very good. All right. We'll meet it standing at the top of the mat once again. And from here, we are going to go through a crescent lunge, which is going to then bring us into a warrior two, from which point we will come into the new 2 feet together poses that we introduce in level 2. So from standing, weights in the left foot, the right foot slides back a little bit deeper now than our pyramid because we're on just the ball of the back foot, the heel is lifted, front knee is bent. We take our crescent lunge. Can we open up, finding our warrior two? Front hand opens, we reverse. Left elbow comes to the inside of the left thigh. Right shoulder lifts. This is our side angle. This is all from level 1 here. Now we're transitioning back to our warrior two, back to our reverse. And now from this reverse warrior, we straighten the front knee. We have a new pose, reverse triangle. Our reverse triangle then sets us up for the top hand, the front hand to come forward. And now we're coming into another new pose, triangle. Before we do so, feel that right shoulder squaring with the hips. Feel the left hand reaching out. And from here, we are allowing the shoulders to lower slightly toward the front foot. I'm keeping my hands at my heart to start. And what we might do is just be lowering slightly. Maybe the left hand comes to the inside of the thigh for support. Now, the triangle has very many levels to it. What we could be doing here is starting to lower more, but if we feel that the top shoulder is starting to close, I'd encourage you to stay higher so that that top shoulder can maintain oriented toward the ceiling. Now, we have a couple options here. If we have a block, we can lift the ground up to us. So what we can be doing from our triangle is as we are starting to lower, if we have the space, maybe that left hand releases and we come down and we find the block on its top level. From here, as we find more space, maybe we are going to now come down and find the block on its second level. Maybe the right hand is going to reach up toward the sky. We can lower the block to its lowest level. Additionally, we can work fingertips, fist, palm to the ground. These are all options. Now, I'm encouraging everyone who is new to this to be staying nicely up high. Maybe you're allowing the hand to reach down, but we're not even coming into a block. We're just using the inside of the front thigh for a little bit of support, prioritizing this right shoulder being open. To come out of our triangle, we bend the front knee. We find our way to a warrior two. Back hand comes forward, squaring the hips to the front, crescent lunge. To come out of crescent lunge, shoulders lean forward, weight shifts forward, back foot slides forward. Gracefully, we come to the top of the mat, taking a second to pedal the feet to relax. Maybe noticing the difference between left side and right side. Once again, these asymmetric postures. Now we shift the weight to the right foot. The left foot is sliding back. We're heading toward crescent lunge. And once again, crescent lunge, square hips, square shoulders. We're on the ball of our back foot. We're finding our left lane, right lane. Shoulders up long, hands can be at hips, prayer, up overhead. From our crescent lunge, we're opening up to our warrior two. Taking a moment to set the open hip. From warrior two, opening the front hand, we reverse. Beautiful stretch through the side here. Maybe we feel a connection from the pinky through the shoulder side into this front hip. Right elbow coming to the inside of the right thigh, left shoulder lifting, hands are at heart for our side angle. Some of the options we might be exploring could involve opening up. Coming back to our warrior two, flowing through the warrior two, finding reverse warrior, which sets us up now to straighten the front leg, reverse triangle. Find stability in your reverse triangle, and then when you're ready, the front hand is coming forward. We take a moment to feel that back shoulder opening, setting the alignment, and then from here, hands at heart, and we're lowering this right shoulder toward the right thigh as we keep the left shoulder open. Now, this might be as far as we go. As you settle into this, as you find your breath, you might notice a little bit more space. Maybe you decide to allow that front forearm to find the inside of the thigh. Or if you're ready for it, you might choose to bring the block up, work through all three levels of the block, or work fingertips, fist, palm to the ground. Several levels here for our triangle. To come out, we bend the front knee, release the hands, find our warrior two. Back hand is coming forward, finding our crescent. Hinging forward, weight shifts forward, back foot becomes light so that we can gracefully step forward, releasing the hands, maybe we pedal the feet. Very good. Now, we have a new flow region in level two. And this new flow region is 1 foot connected to the ground. So we've practiced hands and feet on the ground, different parts of our body on the ground. We have our 2 feet together. We have our 2 feet apart. Now we're coming to just 1 foot connected. So we will start here with our standing knee lift. Here, I am shifting my weight into my left foot as I come up onto the toe of my right foot. Now, I take a moment here to feel 90% of the weight in my left foot, 10% of the weight in my right toe. Standing up straight, I draw my hands to prayer. I set my gaze about 6 feet at the ground in front of me. A stable gaze helps with the balance. I soften my breath, I relax. And this is level one. If you're ready for level two, we are going to be lifting the toe up off the ground as we draw the thigh toward parallel. This is our level two. Once again, we stand up tall, bring our hands to prayer, set our gaze about 6 feet at the ground in front of us, and soften the breath. So good. On the way down, we are going to attempt to be in such control as we lower the foot that we hover an inch above the mat so that we choose to place it on the ground. Now that might be a little aspirational if this is the first time that you're trying it, but it's something that we work toward, that control, zero impact, very graceful through the movements. Next, we switch sides, weight shifts into the right foot, we come up onto the toe of the left foot, and we take a minute to feel 90% of the weight loading into that right foot as we become light on the left foot. Hands come to prayer, we stand up tall, setting our gaze, stable posture, relaxing through the breath. We have level one. If you're ready, we lift the left knee, we come up to level two of our standing knee lift. Slowly we lower, preparing to dismount, attempting to control the foot within an inch of the mat, choosing to place it down. We pedal the feet left, we pedal the feet right. Feeling evenly balanced, we now move on to our Warrior 3 intro. For the Warrior 3 intro, we'll shift the weight into the left foot, coming up onto the toe of the right foot, and we slide this right foot back. The toe stays connected with the earth. We feel the right glute turning on. And so once again, about 90% of the weight is in this left foot. About 10% is in the back foot. We draw our hands to prayer. We set our gaze about 6 feet in front of us. We're standing tall. and we relax into the breath. Now, we bring that back foot forward, plant down. We'll shift, weight coming into the right foot, coming up onto the toe of the left foot. We slide that left foot back, plant that toe on the ground. Draw our hands to prayer. Stand up tall, relax into the breath. Back foot comes forward, placing down. We will now come to level 2 of the Warrior 3 intro. Weight shifts to the left foot, right foot slides back. Once we set that toe with our gaze set, we're standing tall. Level 2 has us lifting that toe an inch above the ground so that now all of the weight is in the left foot as that right toe is hovering. The glute is very active. We're standing tall. Gaze is set about 6 feet in front of us. Very good. Back foot comes forward. We set, weight to the left. We step to the right. Weight shifts into the right foot. We slide the left foot back. Once we set our Warrior 3 intro level 1, we now come up to the level 2 as that heel lifts. Standing up tall, that left glute very active. We don't want to be passive there. Gaze 6 feet in front of us, and we relax into the pose with the breath. Back foot comes forward. We place down, we pedal back and forth. And now we're coming into our pendulum flow, which is the movement between the standing knee lift and the Warrior 3 intro. So here we are, weight comes into the left foot. We come up level 1, the right foot, 10% of the weight, 90% in the left foot. Here is our standing knee lift level 1. The pendulum flow has us sliding back to the Warrior 3 level 1. And we are moving between these two positions. Now to come to level 2, when we come forward, we're going to bring this knee up to approximately parallel. And then we are sliding back, attempting not to touch the mat. Toe is an inch up off the ground. We feel that engagement in the glute. We're standing tall. Leg comes forward. And we're back. Now, of course, if level 2 is not comfortable for you, you're just doing this in the level 1. You're choosing the level that's appropriate for you. And we place back down, weight into the right foot, weight into the left foot, noticing the difference between the two. Weight now comes into the right foot. We come up onto the toe of our left foot. Pendulum flow on the opposite side. Warrior 3 intro, level 1. Sliding forward, standing knee lift level 1. And if we want to come into level 2, coming up, standing knee lift, attempting not to touch the ground. We come back. Another note here is that in the standing leg, we always want to keep a slight bend in the knee. That slight bend in the knee is going to prevent the risk of hyperextension. Very good. And now we place it back down. And that completes the 1 foot flow regions for level 2. Excellent work. Now we head down to the mat. We have done the 2 poses in the flow region with hands and feet on the ground. So now we're coming into the poses with our body as the connection to the ground, and we're coming into a Sphinx pose. Sphinx finds the hands coming out. Hands are anchored in the mat. The forearm is anchored in the mat. The shoulders are approximately over the elbows. And now we feel the chest reaching forward slightly, the heart reaching forward slightly. And what we are targeting as our primary intention here is extension of the upper back. So imagine if you are sitting at a desk and maybe leaning forward a little bit. That is flexion of the spine, so we are counterposing that common posture. Now, noticing here the gaze is about 3 feet in front of us, so we're not looking up at the sky. We're probably not even looking forward at the wall in front of us. We're just looking slightly down and forward. Very good. Now we are going to release into the prone position, crossing both hands over top of each other. Right ear finds the back of the right hand. We're gazing to the left, just a gentle neck stretch here. And then we shift the gaze to the opposite side. Very good. Now we're coming toward half bow. In half bow, the left hand is coming right underneath the chin or thereabouts. The right hand is reaching behind us, finding the right ankle. And now we are going to get a quad stretch here as we gently lift that right thigh up off the mat. And so here we are targeting a stretch in the quad, in the hip flexor, and we also have a little bit of extension in the upper spine. As you can see, the shoulders lifting here. This front hand here is here for support. One option, if you would like to, is you can reach that front hand out, maybe supporting yourself a little bit as you come deeper into the extension. One more breath. And then we release, and we switch sides. Starting here, forearm in front, left hand finding left ankle, lifting slightly, bringing that stretch into the left quad, the left hip flexor. Right hand might reach forward. And we come out of it, once again, softly, slowly. Very good. Now we're coming up to seated. We're going to be doing a wide-legged seated forward fold. And so here we set our feet outside. The feet might come off the mat depending on how flexible you are. Maybe the feet stay on the mat, whatever is good for you. Here, similar to the seated forward fold, we start by sitting up tall, feeling the crown of the head lifting upward. If you'd like to, you can lift the hands up long overhead, but we want to feel that core engagement so that the hinging is coming from the hips. And then once we find our edge, we can release the upper back. We can allow the hands to come down and relax. And we're in our forward fold. So as we come up from our seated forward fold, we're lifting slowly, lifting slowly. The next pose that we transition to is our butterfly. We draw the soles of the feet together, fingers coming around the feet. And here we're going to feel the crown of the head once again active, reaching upward. Maybe in our butterfly, we choose to flap the wings a little bit, being a little bit more dynamic here. Maybe you choose to take it statically. What we want to avoid here is using the hands to pull us forward. If the space is available for us to hinge forward at the hips, leaning forward, so be it. But if you're like me, you're going to take this as a little bit of a taller variation because my hips tend to be less open than many of the students I meet in my classes. Very good. Now we transition toward a deer pose. And in the deer pose, we're going to be targeting a stretch in the outside of the hip. And so to start, we'll set the right shin toward the front of the mat. And we have approximate 90-degree angle. So there's a bend in the knee, and then this leg, the back leg, 90 degrees. And approximately, I'm a little bit inside. Whether you're at perfect 90 degrees is not so critical there. We sit up tall. We orient the chest now toward the middle of the shin, and we find this stretch starting to enter through that right thigh. Now, you might be coming toward the ground. You might use a block to lift up the ground to you if you find that more relaxing. Or you can just be doing what I'm doing and sitting up just part way, just kind of exploring the space that's available in the outside of that hip. As I'm settling in, I'm noticing that there's more space available, and so I'm just moving into that space as it becomes available. Very good. To come out of it, I'm sitting up. I shift the weight slightly into the right side, which allows this back foot to come forward. The right foot is now going to be sliding back, and that is how we can gracefully switch sides. Now we're coming into the left hip. And so once again, setting the approximate 90-degree angles, sitting up tall, orienting my chest toward the middle of the shin. I'm leaning forward. I feel that stretch coming into the outside of that left hip. And now I just soften into the posture. And with this, it's one of those shapes where the longer I hang out, the more space I find. So I have a tendency to want to spend more time in this pose because I just feel more and more opening as it goes along. It's very gratifying. And now as we come out, we're sitting up tall, weight is shifting into the left hip, allowing the right hip to come forward. Now we're transitioning to our next pose. Our next pose is constructive rest. And constructive rest is really, really beautiful. It's the second yoga pose I ever learned. And as you come into constructive rest, you will notice how relaxing it is. The soles of the feet are on the mat, the knees are bent. And we're just laying here, nice and relaxed. Maybe left hand at heart, right hand at your belly. It's a very relaxing position. Now from constructive rest, we come into our reclining pigeon. Here, we're going to take the right foot, lift it up, place the outside of the right ankle on top of the left thigh, and this could be right where we come to for our reclining pigeon. If you have more space and you would like to, you can lift the left foot, interlacing fingers underneath the left hamstring, and we can deepen into the stretch a little further. Similar to the deer pose that we were in 2 poses ago, we're feeling a stretch in the outside of the hip here. That's our primary target. And then we'll switch sides. Left foot coming to the top of the right thigh. If we have more space, we lift the right foot, interlacing fingers underneath the right hamstring. All right, as we come out of this shape, the final position that we'll finish in is a Shavasana. Here, once again, the heels are reaching out. We're extending our feet long. Heels are about shoulder width apart, toes naturally falling to the outside, back of wrists on the floor. Hands are about 12 to 18 inches from our sides, palms are face up. Gaze is about straight up. And we're relaxing entirely into the mat. We're slowing down our breath, taking a moment to thank ourselves for going through the practice, for being gentle with ourselves, for being loving, challenging ourselves, maybe exploring new things. Scanning the body, noticing tension around the eyes, the ears, the jaw. We're letting that go. Scanning the body, maybe we notice tension around the wrist or the elbows. Maybe there's just a little activation in the hips or the knees. What can we let go of?